What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? Back with more of this Overprime content and these guides. I've got builds for you today for all of the junglers and the heroes that I think should be played in the jungle. As I say at the start of these videos, these builds are not the only builds. I'm not trying to say you have to go this build or you suck. That's not the point of this. The point of this is those of you who haven't taken the time to go test things and figure everything out. I've done that. Me and a couple of my friends sat there for a couple hours and tested all the different builds and combos and what was going to min-max your potential and give you your best chance at having a clean build to be able to focus on your gameplay and just win games. And I found that. I've done that. You saw that in the Ranger video that's up already. And then we have the jungler builds. It's not just assassins because the game only classifies 2 heroes as assassins. We are covering Kayla, Beatrice. I think those are 2 really core assassins, but then I also think Uruk is a strong auto attack jungler. I think Tao is one of the strongest junglers in the game because of his cooldown, his damage, and his survivability, how tanky he is. And then as another option, you have Bora as a more magical jungler, melee jungler. She works very, very well in the jungle because of her kit and her movement and the way she can go in and out of team fights. So I want to cover all of them in this video and just jump into it. If you guys are liking this, hit the like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. So first up, we are covering Kayla. I think Kayla is probably the most fun and just raw, true jungler assassin. I love her, him. I don't know if it's a guy or girl. I'm not sure. Kayla just feels great. With the jungle start, you're going to go the Decima Gemstone of Execution. I do not really see a ton of value in upgrading this into any of the axes. Into the assassin axe is what you would go normally. If you want to, you can, but it's not needed. You already have good jungle clear. Now, similar to the Rangers, you're doing raw damage, right? You're doing raw auto attack damage in between your abilities, and you want crit. Crit is just way too valuable right now. If you have crit, and if you did not know, you already have crit built into your Q. So whenever you Q, you come out with a big fat auto attack crit. So you're gonna go Blade of the Huan, once again, similar to Rangers. Then we're gonna build right into that treasure sword to get the crit online. You can go this first, but you will not kill quite as fast. I think it's just way cleaner to have the blade, plus you have the movement to chase. I personally like to go into the lifesteal and getting that extra power. It allows you to win those 1v1 trades and even 1v2s that people wouldn't expect. Then I go into short sword of decay. And then for my final item, I go time bandit. You can go into the beads as always. The beads, the active, the crowd control removal, the holy relic. You can go into that holy relic. Gives you good power, gives you more crit, and then you have a little bit of defense for survivability. But I like having the cooldown. I like to be able to spam. And then your overall combo when you are playing Kayla, you're gonna look to engage anytime you can with your Q. Ideally, and remember, this is going to come out with an auto attack. You can right click, land another auto attack. That's going to be around with those crits. You're going to do anywhere from 1700 to 2400 damage. If you need to engage with it, if you can't stealth in, it's perfectly fine to engage like this, land an auto, right click auto, you can Q auto. You can see the damage. The damage is ridiculous, absolutely insane. It doesn't get matched. So that's going to be your non-ult combos. And then with your ult combos, you can completely change up the style and play it however you want. I like to use my ult as a final lockdown, waiting for my abilities to re-up and come back up. But you got that. You got the ult combo, which is going to do a lot. You got the autos in between each use of an ability and just massive burst. So that's going to be by far your best build for Kayla. I don't think it can be matched. I don't think it can be beat. You can sell that starter. Once again, I think you should always sell the starter. And around then is when I almost always sell it for beads. I just think getting beads is way too valuable to not have. I'm going to call them beads because I'm from Smite. Having that CC immunity is going to be way too valuable. You get that little bit bigger crits, right? Almost 1100. You're just chunking. You're absolutely chunking. Next up, we have Beatrice. She is slightly different though because her abilities are magical. Her auto attacks are still physical, but she is not a true auto attack god. You're going to play around these magical abilities. You are still going to go the Decima Gemstone of Execution because it is your jungling starter. And then you will build right into Flat Pen just like you do with the physical gods. You're going to build into the Alchema Blaster. Now you build that full Alchema Blaster. It's fantastic. If you want to min-max your raw output, buying into this Eye of the Prophet is a tier 2 item that builds into Decima Blaster. It is only 850 gold. It is very cheap. It gives you 25 magical power and 10 magical penetration. It is a great item to go next. You do not have to go it because it will not build into anything else right now. Currently, you will sell it late game, but it is an 850 gold item that gives you just massive damage output. So with that, if you decide to go the Eye of the Prophet, doesn't change up the rest of your build. It just kind of gives you earlier bursts, kind of to min-max your power and power spikes. You're going to go to the improved Miracle Generator. The power, insane. The magical defense, cool. The health, cool. The cooldown, insane. And then the passive is what's massively key to this item on top of that power and cooldown. You block a single enemy skill attack. So if someone tries to open on you, it blocks it. It doesn't get hit every 40 seconds. So you're going to buy into that. You are then going to go into the Decima Energy Amplifier. This is giving you the highest amount of magical power in the game. Plus, it's increasing your magical power by 20% with that passive. So that's going to be huge to have online. I personally don't think the lifesteal from Archon Gospel is worth it because you only have 20 magical power. You lose out on so much magical power at that point. So I usually would go into a Poison Energy. You get 50 magical power. You get a ton of HP for survivability. You get cooldown. And then you have percent penetration. You reduce the people around you on the enemy team's defense by 10% of their magical defense. So I go into that, and then you could sell the Decima. Probably ideal here because you need that magical damage. And I would go into a magic amplifier. That's going to give you 40% more nullified magical defense. It's more penetration for everybody. Plus your attacks slow them, so it's easier to stick to them. And at that point, you can sell the Eye of the Prophet and kind of go into whatever item fits what you need. If you need the beads at this point in the game, you could look at grabbing the defensive item. Where is it? Or you could just go into an Aegis. You can look at Dimensional Rift. The last item is the same as all the physical, the Rangers, and everyone else. You get to choose what fits for you at this point in the game. I personally would, if you need to be tanky, you can go into a Mana Black Hole. You can go for survivability. I'd probably go for the granting of invincibility to try to not get one shot. You do have to preemptively use this, but it's really, really, really strong. And, you know, you look like a statue. It's cool. And that's your Beatrice build. I'm going to run around with this build for right now and just show you kind of the power, the damage outputs that you end up getting on Beatrice. So you've got your dash, right? You can dash, do damage, you can dash back. You can combo multiple abilities off of that and still dash back. You can't use everything. So you can engage, you can auto attack, right click, auto attack, use your second ability, auto attack, and then jump back. That's your full combo with no ult. But once you mix in the ult, you can't really get your right click off. So, but your ult is going to be your one tapper. It's going to be how you one clap a ranger or a squishy and then get out and still survive. So you'll queue in, you'll do this, you'll ult, you'll do this, you'll right click, do this, and then you'll jump back. When I say do this, I mean auto attack. So it's Q, auto, alt, auto, right click, auto, back. It needs to be perfectly timed. That last auto might be difficult to get in. Sometimes if you're worried, don't use that. Just Q back to make sure you survive. And that's just kind of your full combo. You just do a ton of damage with this build. You can see how hard you hit. Doesn't quite match crit exactly, but the kit allows you to one hit a squishy with a full combo because of your ultimate. So she is very, very strong as a jungler. Next up is Uruk, who plays like Grux if you're from Paragon. Same thing as the other junglers. You're going to get the Decima, so you have jungle clear. I start with 2 health potions and a ward. I've talked about that in the Ranger video. Wards will win you games, so that's just the starter. But the overall full build, I don't actually build very tanky on him. I play him as I do all of the carries. He basically plays like a melee, you know, auto attack god who has an insanely strong kit to pair with it. Problem is, none of those items are recommended. They recommend you building like a warrior because he is played very well as a warrior in the solo or even as a support character. But he also works crazy as an auto attack god because of his kit and how hard he hits just in general. So we're still building into that Blade of the Huan, penetration to core. We're getting crit. We want it online. We want the big hitting autos. Then we are going to Berserker's Curse. Now you can swap these two. That's perfectly fine. You can swap. You can go Berserker's Curse first and then into the crit sword, the treasured sword of the kingdom, or you could just go treasured sword into this. That order is personal preference. Test out both, see what works out for you. Then we're going to go into that short sword of decay. And then your final item, I have a lot of people who ask me why I don't build into certain things. A lot of people like this bloody barb sword. Your successful basic attacks deals bonus physical damage equal to 6% of physical power melee only. So you get extra damage in, and I think on Uruk, it's a fantastic item. If you don't need pen at this point in the game, more pen, you do get a good amount because you're getting short sword. But as long as you don't need any more pen, you don't need to go to the Decima cannon, you can grab this item at this point, and then you have double lifesteal. Getting double lifesteal with this build is nuts. It is ridiculous. You can just wail away and you're critting for 800, you're autoing for 400. And remember, you're getting lifesteal for 20%. And because to my knowledge, as of right now, there's no anti-heal in the game. There's nothing that's gonna stop you from regenning other than, you know, if you get CC'd or you just can't land your autos for whatever reason. So you've got options. Notice how hard you hit. I'm gonna try to take a little bit of damage here. You'll get one auto will heal you for a lot, especially if you crit. If you crit, you heal for just mass amounts. So I'm down a little over 200 HP right now, right around, we're trying to get 300 HP. One auto gives me 150 health without a crit. If you land a crit, if I could land a crit, that'd be dope. Trying to get a crit off. Let's see. Get lower. I'll try to get around 200 and see if we get a crit heal. So there's a crit heal. Notice you heal for 300. You're unkillable. That's without using the ult. You pop the ult, you're getting even more power. You're critting for 1200. You're full health the whole time. This build is unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. Now, that's not full build. We still have that tier 1 Decima gemstone. We can sell that, get rid of it, and get even more power, more attack speed, whatever it is we're looking for. So we'll sell that. I think having miniature space distortion on Uruk is just massively core because people get away very easily. If you dash in and go for a pull and they use a movement and they don't get pulled, they're gone. Like, they have mass distance, but you can hit them with another dash and you can catch them. And then you can pop the 2 and you can really catch them. And then you have extra burst with the use of that bloody barb sword. The bloody barb sword, if you did not realize, has an active. It deals damage equal to 100% of your physical power. At this point in the game, my physical power is 429, which is ridiculous. Remember, you can also ult. If you ult, you get more power. You get more power, it's gonna hit even harder. So Uruk is an insanely good, like, he spikes mid and late game. If you have a good early game and play properly in the early game, he spikes so hard, and not many characters can really rival him because of his lifesteal. Next up, we have Tao, who is wildly easy to play. He is a very simple, super strong hero to play in the jungle. You've got your Q, which is giving you a mass shield, which scales off of magical damage. So we aren't really going to scale that, but its base is 420. It is a very strong ability, or a shield, basically. Then your second ability is going to be that spinning hit. It's going to hit very hard. It's going to slow for 2 seconds, and it's going to scale off your physical power. And then you've got your big slamming ult. Now, the one thing that's weird about Tao when you do play him in the jungle and you build damage, his ult scales off of power. So if you build a ton of power, his ult actually hits harder than the execute. So full build, your ult will hit for around 750. The execute will guarantee a kill on anyone who is at 700 or lower HP. So obviously, if they get mitigations or shields or whatever, then it's going to be OP because it's going to kill them. But you're still hitting really hard, and it can be used as just a raw damage because of how hard it hits, and you don't need to stress over it. Now for the build, similar to a lot of these other characters, very similar to a lot of these other characters. Blade of the Huan, I go right into crit, and that's because your initiation is essentially slow, auto while having a shield on yourself. So your autos pump. Then we're going to that Berserker's Curse, lifesteal power, same as normal, more crit with that short sword of decay. And then your final damage or final item is up to you. You go to the Time Bandit if you're feeling like you need CDR. You can go into the Holy Relic if you need the CC immunity. Or just like Uruk, the one time I really like it, or I guess it's the only other time I really like it, the Bloody Barb Sword. It's going to give you even more attack speed. It's going to give you even more potential of trading with the Rangers who are hitting very hard. And that lifesteal is going to be nuts. And then on top of it, you have the extra burst from the sword. So that sword has the proc, remember that active, that deals burst damage. So you're easily going to auto, use that slow, get off a couple autos, and then you can just pump them with even more burst. That Bloody Barb Sword will pump damage as a final item or a 5th item, and then we can still go sell out our first item, and we can get beads if we want, or we can just go Time Bandit to replace that cooldown. You can also build more CDR in this kit if you're feeling it. I just like having that Bloody Barb Sword at this point in the game. It's really strong. It's a short cooldown, 15-second extra burst, and it pumps, and it allows you to pair up an insta-kill when people do not expect it. And when there's a character like Ira who's just shielding a lot, it helps you burn through those shields a lot faster paired with your crit autos. And that is how I've been playing Tao. That is by far the most fun way I've played him, and I think you guys will enjoy it, and you'll get a lot out of it, so try it. Next up in the jungle is Tarik. He is a more kind of frontliney, big, beefy warrior style than Tao and Uruk, in my personal opinion. He's a strange one. His abilities scale off of magical damage, but they don't scale enough. They're only 50% scaling. They do not hit hard enough, so there's no reason to actually build into magical. You play him like you do these other characters where you're building auto attack. So we're going to start with that gemstone as usual. He's recommended to build pretty much tanky, but you're going to play him similar to Tao, similar to Uruk. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the blade online right away for Pen. We're going to get some crit online because we want to hit very hard, some attack speed. We're going to get even more crit with that short sword. And then we are going to final item the Bloody Barb Sword. Then you can sell the Decima Gemstone at this point, get more cooldown if that's what you're feeling. I like having the miniature space distortion for him though, because he doesn't have a lot of movement. His leap, as if you've played him, it feels a little clunky. It's good, but it can be where you can run away from it really easily, right? Like the leap is slow. It's not very far. You go up in there, you take forever, and then you slam down, which is solid, right? But notice my attacks, how hard I'm hitting. Ideally, you want to engage with a stun. You hit that stun, and then you just get off a couple autos. If they go to run away, you would then leap on them. You also have the ability to slow them when you want to chase. Now, if you were to engage with a leap, right? Get a couple autos, land the stun, get a couple autos, and they run away. That's where you're going to get that one off, and you're going to catch them. But realistically, with your Bloody Barb Sword and your extra movement, you should be able to just kill them super quickly before they get too far away from you. It's just in the event that they do get far away, that's, you know, what you're gonna do. So when you're ult, you are hitting extremely, extremely hard. You have the instant... It says my Q is on. My Q is on. Oh, there we go. Get the Qs off, the stuns off, and then extra burst from your 3. You just hit super hard. He plays similar to an Uruk, similar to a Tau. Just a lot harder to kill, especially with all that lifesteal you have built in and how hard you will be hitting. Last up for our junglers, we have Bora, who is a mage melee jungler. She plays a little strange compared to a lot of other ones, but she is crazy strong. She is not matched very well by a lot of people, so it's something you want to get in your kit and start playing so you have that high power magical in the jungle whenever you need it. You're still building in the Elkma Blaster first. Pen and power, too strong. You can double up with the Eye of the Prophet if you want to. Completely up to you if you're trying to get a second power spike early. We are then building into that improved Miracle Generator. The improved Miracle Generator is going to keep you alive. Having that passive to just ignore one ability, super, super core for you. We're then going to build in the Decima Energy Amplifier, mass power, get it online and get going. We're going to get even more cooldown. For Bora, it is massively important to have cooldown. You need to get cooldown online. At this point, you're maxed out. I have 30%. If I were to upgrade my starter, that is, if I were to go into cash attacks, I would have 30%. So you could sell this, but I have 20%, which is still very, very strong. And then last item, you can go for lifesteal if you want it on the Archon Gospel. I don't think it's necessary. I like building in a magic amplifier just to have even more pen, because you tend to have tanks on you when you are a character that's doing mass AoE. You tend to be hitting tanks just no matter what. So it ends up being very strong. And then as your last item, you can go into, you know, as we talked about, the invincibility on the Dimensional Rift, very, very strong. Plus you get cooldown. So, you know, we can go into that, max out our CDR at that cap of 30%, and we're good to go. Bora is crazy because her dashes are ridiculously far. She just dashes very, very far off of the double dash. Not many people can keep up with that without an item to help them. Then, if you don't get this kit, she is one of the characters I want to break down because people are confused. Your Q, it's ranged. It goes out, does damage. Very, very, very strong. On a super short cooldown, when it hits, it reduces the cooldown of all of your abilities by 2 seconds. So if it hits, it's going to reduce its own cooldown by 2 seconds because it goes out. As soon as it goes out its own cooldown, it hits 2 seconds off, right? So with an engage, you would want to pop your second ability. You want to get in there, and then you Q, and that second ability is going to be back up very, very quickly, and you can actually use it again right away, and you can just keep spam queuing. Now, every time an ability hits, it stacks your ult up to 6 times. So if your right click hits, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 stacks. If it hits twice and you hit your 1 once, that's a stack. They'll each count as their own, like as a stack up to that 6. And then you can throw out your ultimate at whatever amount you want. If you only have 1, you can throw that out. If you have 6, you can throw that out. Throw it out. Does a ton of burst damage. An insane amount of burst damage. You're talking, you know, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 depending on your build, and that's going to be your full kit, your full burst. She has the auto attacks you'll be throwing out in between, but she is heavily magical damage based and just destroys with that magical damage, and that is why this is the build you're going to be looking at going. Plus remember, you have the invincibility anytime you need it. You can stay alive whenever you need it.